Hey everyone, it must be Christmas. One more video. I have been reading this book again today. It's the Neville Goddard collection, and it's from David Allen, compiled, edited, formatted, and layout. And what he did is he put all the important books in here, plus lectures on in the right order of when it was published. And this book has so many cool things in here. And you know what I found out? Maybe I read it before, but I didn't remember until I saw it just now. That Neville actually talks about giving your desire, or the thing that you're imagining, a time interval. So he talks about that you can feel on Wednesday, or that the days have a certain feeling to it, and that if, for instance, something simple that is believable and that you're not anxious about, and you're like, today's Wednesday, I would like to experience it on Sunday, then you can go into the Sunday in your imagination, and you know how Sunday feels, right? It's more quiet out there. And back in the days, or maybe you still go to church, so you hear church bells and all the things that you experience on a Sunday. And that's how you put a time interval to your manifestation. So I thought that was really cool, because that means that you can, in your imagining sessions for the thing that you're materializing, or the things that you're materializing, you can play around with seasons. Like now in Berlin, it's summer. And let's say if I want to see something materialize by fall or by winter, I can put these outer circumstances of the weather and stuff into my imaginal scenes. So that's really cool. Something to think about and play around with. I want to read to you chapter 3 of Imagination and Faith. Maybe I'm going to skip a few parts here and there, but there are really cool things in here that I want to share with you, and that are great to know and to keep in mind and to really feel. And you know that Neville says that faith is loyalty to the unseen reality, and is actually everything that we need is faith. Like, keep the faith that we haven't seen it yet. We've seen it in our minds. But when we keep to the wish fulfilled, and we keep feeling and seeing it in our minds, it will materialize. Prayers are not successfully made unless there is a rapport between the conscious and the subconscious mind of the operator. This is done through imagination and faith. By the power of imagination, all men, certainly imaginative men, are forever casting forth enchantments, and all men, especially unimaginative men, are continually passing under their power. Everything that can be seen, touched, explained, argued over, is to the imaginative man nothing more than a means, for he functions by reason of his controlled imagination, in the deep of himself, where every idea exists in itself and not in relation to something else. In him there is no need for the restraints of reason, for the only restraint he can obey is the mysterious instinct that teaches him to eliminate all moods other than the mood of the fulfilled desire. Let me repeat that last sentence. For the only restraint he can obey is the mysterious instinct that teaches him to eliminate all moods other than the mood of the fulfilled desire. So stick to the wish fulfilled. A couple of things that I was reading in other chapters is that Neville actually continuously says in these pieces that you have to continue living in the wish fulfilled. He's not speaking about dropping the seed. In these chapters, he's saying stay faithful to the wish fulfilled. So continuously stay in that state. Stick with the feeling. How does it feel? How would you act, be, if your wish is fulfilled? And step into that man. He also calls it, and I think it's said in the Bible, resting in the Lord. So you rest in the Lord when you think from being the man already or woman that has realized her desire, his desire. So he goes on. Imagination and faith are the only faculties of the mind needed to create objective conditions. The faith required for the successful operation of the law of consciousness is a purely subjective faith and is attainable upon the cessation of active opposition on the part of the objective mind of the operator. In other words, it depends on your ability to feel and accept as true what your objective senses deny. So, F what you're seeing outside. It's all about what you're feeling inside. Believing is seeing and not the other way around. Okay, a side note, what I also read. So it's really important that we have a strong imagination and that we stick to what we want to see and not the automatic images that come up. So Neville gives a practice what you can do to control your imagination, because the controlled imagination is a strong imagination. And what you can do is every night when you go to bed, before you fall asleep, hopefully hopefully you're not too tired then when you go to bed, you go through the day backwards and you go through all the instances, and when you do that in that order, you will create a strength of mind control actually. And what you can add to it, because maybe you also do what Neville advises, which is revise every day at the end of the day. If there were unlovely things in your day, revise them into things that you would have loved to have seen happen. And I know from other people who do this successfully, they also revise things that were cool but could be even cooler, or they add some new things in there. So when you do your practice to control your imagination, because that's the perfect tool to have, right? A strong mind for a conscious creator, then throw some revisions in there as well. Why not? While you're at it. Okay, let's go on. Neither the passivity of the subject nor his conscious agreement with your suggestion is necessary, so it doesn't matter. For without his consent or knowledge, he can be given a subjective order which he must objectively express. It's a fundamental law of consciousness that by telepathy we can have immediate communion with another. This is actually the whispering technique. But the thing is, so the whispering technique as we know now, I believe it wasn't, maybe Neville knew, maybe he knows later. But what we know now is that we all choose a version of the reality we love to see expressed, or actually not always love to see, but that we express from the assumptions that we make. So here, he sometimes talks about that we can, if we're not in control of our minds, that other people can put thoughts in our heads. But that's not true. It's our reality. So if we think someone put something in our mind, yes, then it's true. But in our reality, in our version, the reality that we focus on, we can whisper to other people what we want to see them do, what we want to have them say, all these things. But yeah, also known as the whispering technique. Only I don't believe Neville calls it whispering technique. So here's how to go about it. We already know it, but it's cool to see it written out by Neville in his book. So to establish rapport, so connection, you call the subject mentally. Focus your attention on him and mentally shout his name, just as you would to attract the attention of anyone. Imagine that he answered and mentally hear his voice. Represent him to yourself inwardly in the state you want him to obtain. Then imagine that he is telling you in the tones of ordinary conversation what you want to hear. Mentally answer him. Tell him of your joy in witnessing his good fortune, for instance. Having mentally heard with all the distinctness of reality that which you wanted to hear, and having thrilled to the news heard, return to objective consciousness. Your subjective conversation must awaken what it affirmed. And then between, I don't know what you call this in English again. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. It is not a strong will that sends the subjective word on its mission so much as it is clear thinking and feeling. The truth of the state affirmed. When belief and will are in conflict, belief invariably, I hope that I pronounced that correct, wins. So when belief and will are in conflict, belief wins. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. And it's cool to read that from Neville. So it's not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. Therefore, get into the spirit of these mental conversations and give them the same degree of reality that you would a telephone conversation. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and ye shall have them. Hey Max, this is what you commented on one of the videos. That's funny. The acceptance of the end wills the means. So let me take a sip here. And the wisest reflection could not devise more effective means than those which are willed by the acceptance of the end. Mentally talk to your friends as though your desires for them were already realized. And it doesn't have to be only desires for them. You can also mentally talk to them as if your desires have been realized. Actually, whatever you desire, if it's for them or for you, it's what you desire. So your money, your conversations, your success. Imagination is the beginning of the growth of all forms, and faith is the substance out of which they are formed. Wallace D. Wattles, I forgot the title of the book, something to do with riches. And he has this, how does he say it again? Between the spaces of the interspaces of the universe. So there's a substance which everything is made of. And it's between the spaces of the interspaces. So actually everything we see is made of the same substance. We already know that, right? That's energy. So again, imagination is the beginning of the growth of all forms. And faith is the substance out of which they are formed. So, wow, it's almost 15 minutes. I'm going to end this video. It goes on. If you would like me to read the rest for you, let me know in the comments. If not, then I'll see if I do this or a different part of the book in another video. And I have faith that this helped. And usually, what assists me is to listen to these things a couple of times. When you want to read it yourself, it's from Prayer, the Art of Believing, chapter 3, Imagination and Faith. And I'll put a link down in the description for all the free Neville stuff. So you don't have to get the book. You can also read it free online and print it out as a PDF, or not as PDF, as a printed version, however you wish. So have a wonderful evening, and thank you for watching, and I see you in here soon. Mwah. And happy imagining.